Kyle, we had a pretty big move in the NFC East last night.
Was it that big?
Well, a big name. How about that?
Sure.
Big name signed in the NFC East. The Commanders signed Von Miller last night, who is obviously older, 36 years old, but he's had a 6-sack season last year, and he's a Hall of Famer to add to their pass rush. And here's really a question that I think we've all been wondering since the season ended into the offseason with both teams doing what they're doing. Do you view the Commanders as a real threat to the Eagles?
No. I mean, I didn't before this signing. Why would I now? They're filling up the retirement home with more geriatric patients. Like, the Commanders' offseason has baffled me from the jump and continues to baffle me. And where my head went with this Von Miller signing, the first thing I thought of was we had a conversation yesterday about were the Commanders sort of testing the TJ Watt market, and that's why they hadn't paid Terry McLaurin. Yeah. Now, if this is the case and that Von Miller is the consolation prize, like they bow out of the TJ Watt sweepstakes, they get Von Miller on the cheap, and then they end up turning around and paying Terry McLaurin, I view this as a massive win for the Eagles. You're going to tell me that they settle for a 36-year-old edge rusher who I have no idea is cooked or not, and they end up paying the wide receiver who's probably likely to be there next season anyway, regardless. Right. Like, I think they settled for Von Miller, and this should be viewed as a massive win for the Eagles. Like, the Commanders were already the oldest team on average in the NFL before this signing, and now they're doubling down on that. So I think this could go one of two ways, and the one extreme is it reminds me a little bit of the 2017 Eagles, and that they had a lot of these mercenary-type players. They banked on upside, maybe some older guys who, you don't know if they have another good year left in the tank in them, but they did, and they cashed in, and they won the Super Bowl. Or they could all just fall off a cliff, which I think is the most likely outcome here. I mean, how many more good years is Zach Ertz going to give you? Von Miller, Deebo Samuel is chunky as hell. Like, you've seen him in those training camp videos. He looks fat. Laramie Tunsil being the biggest addition that they made this offseason. And that's just an offensive lineman. Like, I don't think their defense has improved from last season, and that was one of their bigger weaknesses last season. So, plus, I don't believe Jayden Daniels is just going to suck for the rest of his career. I think he's due for a regression next year. Like, I'm not taking the Commanders seriously at all.
See, I am. Now, when we say threat, like, are they going to beat the Eagles in the NFC title game if they play them again or the playoffs? I don't know. The Eagles are better, I think, in a one-game scenario. But I view them as a threat in the division because week after week, I think they're going to have they scored more points than the Eagles last year, guys. A lot more points per game.
That's cute.
They did. I mean, they're going to bring one of the best offenses in the NFL back with a better left tackle. They also drafted a right tackle in the first round, so they improved their offensive line. And we could say Debo's fat, but he's probably better than what they had. Well, actually he's fat. But he's probably better than what they had at number 2 wide receiver last year.
Sure,
so they have
maybe.
McLaurin, and they have Debo, and they have a better offensive line, and they have a tremendous young quarterback. They're going to score a lot of points.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, don't you think part of the reason they scored a lot more points last season is because they had to? I mean, the defense put them in situations where Daniels had to continue to throw in the fourth quarter. Like, the Eagles had the luxury of once Saquon put the opposing team away in the fourth quarter, it was like, that's it, shut it down. And by the way, like, the Eagles did this a lot last season where they just had these long, extended drives in the fourth quarter.
Game to end the game?
Yeah, a 10-minute drive where they're just running the ball. And, that's not going to require you to score a lot of points. Our defense last year didn't require us on offense to score a lot of points. So, I don't view that as I view that as more of a circumstantial thing, is why the Commanders scored more points than the Eagles. The Eagles are, I think, clearly far and away a much better team than the Washington Commanders.
I think they're better too, but the Commanders won 12 football games. It wasn't like they were 9-8 and then
some of those were
made a run in the playoffs. They were 12-5.
Some of those were so lucky.
I get you.
They should have even beat the freaking Bears.
They probably should.
The Bears,
well,
dude.
Remember the video of the Bears player waving to the crowd down in D.C. and then they throw the ball over his head?
But they had a lot of wins like that last year.
So I think, and people keep bringing up how old they are, and they are the oldest team in the NFL, right? And they signed an older edge rusher. But you brought up the point of the 2017 Eagles. It is similar. I could make a case that, maybe Von Miller's their Chris Long. He's not what he used to be, but can he help them win some football games? Maybe. And the Debo thing, remember when the Eagles signed Alshon Jeffrey?
Yep.
He was coming off a couple down years at Chicago. Yeah. He had injuries. He was kind of chunky. He was trying to reestablish himself. Because remember, early in Alshon's career, he was awesome. Then he kind of went a few years backwards. And I think Alshon signed a 1-year deal with the Eagles. So, I think there's some similarities to that. Look, I'm not telling you the Commanders are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not telling you they're the best team in the NFL and they're better roster than the Eagles. But I view them as a threat. That title game last year, the Eagles ended up blowing them out. But if you remember, that game was what, 14-12 before halftime?
Yep.
Hurts throws the bomb to AJ.
I mean, wasn't it even like 27-20 at one point, I think?
And they fumbled like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
When the 2 regular season games last year were very competitive. We beat them here in November, right? And we had the stop of Jayden Daniels on the fourth down in the fourth quarter. And then in December, I know Hurts got hurt, but that was a shootout, and they beat the Eagles. I mean, one team went up and down the field on the Eagles in the last 4 months of the season.
Sure.
One quarterback did. It was Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
Like Mahomes couldn't do it. Stafford couldn't do it. One quarterback did it in 4 months. So, I take the Commanders seriously.
They were a scrappy team last season, but they won a lot of swing games. And if you tendency in the NFL is that starts to swing the other way a little bit.
It does.
And I don't even buy Dan Quinn as like this great coach. Like if I'm looking at the biggest reasons for the Commanders' success last year, that's squarely on the shoulders of Jayden Daniels. And while I think he's here to stay, I don't think he's going to repeat last season. There's going to be more film out on him. And by the way, like Jayden Daniels, I think he ended up playing every game, or did he miss one or something like that? But
I think he missed one.
But man, I'm telling you, look out for that guy in terms of like an injury risk. He's a thin dude, and he got that rib injury, and that was probably the worst pocket of the Commanders' season last year when he was injured. Like, I just don't think they have enough around Jayden Daniels to uplift him if he falls, at least if he regresses back to the mean a little bit.
So he did play all the games. He came out early in one of the games, though. The Panthers game, he came because that's when he got hurt. So he ended up playing every game, 17 games. But look, I hope everyone is right that they're old and he could regress. I mean, sometimes young quarterbacks just get better, right?
Sure.
Like
they do Mahomes.
Lamar.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamar
Right.
came in the league and it was like, whoa, and then he won the MVP in his second year in the NFL.
Yes.
Same thing with, Mahomes came in and won the MVP in his second year. I take them seriously. Do you like or don't like that we don't see them until December?
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like the fact that they're sandwiching those 2 games within the last 3 weeks of the season. I don't know what either of these 2 teams are going to look like by then. And then, by the way, I mean, if you think about it this way, if the Commanders do make the playoffs and so do the Eagles, we could see them the very next week. That could be 4 games or 3 games in 4 weeks against the Commanders. I mean, that's tough, dude. That's tough for both teams.
So I think of it could work out the way you're saying, and it's really challenging, right? It also could be if you're right and other people are right about their regression, maybe they're just a middling team and they know it by the time we see them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going out on a limb here. I don't even think the Commanders are the biggest threat in the division.
Oh, so you're wrong on this.
I'm not. I don't think I am. Everybody just wants. Everyone's
just
so
say
quick.
It with me. Dismiss the Cowboys.
No,
dismiss the Cowboys.
I'm not going to dismiss Dallas. I'm not going to do it. And we can make fun of the Brian Schottenheimer wannabe Sirianni hire all we want, and I do believe that is the case.
Brian Schottenheimer?
I'm not saying Brian Schottenheimer is going to be a reason that they win, but we made fun of Jason Garrett, who won a Coach of the Year, by the way, with the Cowboys. He managed to rip off 13 wins in a season before. Yeah. We clowned on Mike McCarthy when they hired him.
Has a resume.
Well, he does, but again, we were like, what a Jerry Jones hire Mike McCarthy was. They're not going to do it.
Wade Phillips in the 2007 range.
I'm not saying the Cowboys are a threat to win a playoff game. We all know that's not going to happen, but they just somehow managed to scrape together wins in the regular season. And I would bet, at least right now, as it seems, they're going to have an easier schedule than both the Eagles and the Commanders.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have the third place schedule. All right, are the Commanders a real threat to the Eagles next season? Absolutely they are. I mean, let me bring this up. I know you'll dismiss it quickly before we go back to the phone lines. No one has won the division in back-to-back years.
Who cares?
Boy, but after a while, doesn't it resonate? Like, how many more years until you say, No, but then, obviously something's to this.
Okay, but then what are we saying next year when the Eagles do win the division back-to-back years?
Well,
we're like, what a quirky little coincidence that we've had for about 20 years. That's all it is. It's a coincidence.
No, it's more than a coincidence.
No.
How could you go 20-plus years with the same thing happening and saying there's something to it?
Well, I don't know. It would be one thing if this were happening in a lot of other divisions. Like, it would just speak to, I think, something in the NFL where it's hard to just win your division in back-to-back years. It's only the NFC East, really.